So, One Piece chapter 1190, we got a cover page of Shanks cooking some fish for breakfast with Luffy, surrounded by cats. Of course, the request only said Shanks grilling fish for breakfast in a port town, surrounded by cats. And, Oda decided to throw Luffy in there as a cameo. Okay. Anyway, so the chapter starts off where the last one left off. Gaban fighting to save Luffy. Luffy, he's on that tree that Gaban chopped, and like we all thought, he cut the tree to further save Luffy, right? Now, I thought that Luffy would fall into the underworld, stab to a tree, and he would fall straight down to the underworld. But the branch that he was on actually landed on the same branch that it was attached to further back, and the swords popped out of Luffy's back. Okay, that had to hurt, but yeah, the swords popped straight out of his back, and Gaban is squaring up with Emu. Okay, so as the fucking blades pop out of Luffy's back in the most painful manner, you see that. Okay, Gaban is twirling his axes. He's ready for round two, exchange two. Okay, Emu most definitely dashes straight at him and swings, but Gaban jumps in the air. He's kind of fast. He's a fast old man. As you can see, he's fast enough to avoid Emu's attacks. And Gaban, he says something kind of interesting, like, it's leaning a lot more toward the idea that we all thought already, that Emu isn't from this world. Okay, Gaban straight up says it. You're nothing like nothing of this mortal world. Okay, and in the other translation he says, you're not like anything in this world. Okay, he just kind of said it more blatantly. Emu questions who he is based on his words, because that kind of gives him a little bit of a shock, a little bit of surprise. Something that he's kind of taking it into note, like, yo, well, how does he know about something that's like from a different place? Whoa, how does he know about me, right? He even questions him directly that. He says Gaban's response is that I'm somebody who knows about the world. Now, obviously, Gaban knows about the world because he was on Roger's crew and they seen the end of the world. Not the end of the world, but you know what I mean. They got to the end of the journey and they learned some truth at Laugh Tale about the world. Joy Boy's words. Okay, he was also he was there while they got all the poneglyphs. Okay, that's one thing right there. Joy Boy is the one who left them behind and carved stuff into them, or had stuff carved into them, or whatever, right? A lot of that is his messages and words that are on there. There's obviously other stuff on them, but Joy Boy's message are on the poneglyphs, and he's on a crew that got all of the poneglyphs, right? And he also has spoken to Shanks, somebody who's been to Mary Joie, and he's learned more things about the Holy Land. So yeah, Gaban might know everything there is to know via Roger and possibly Shanks as well, right? So he comes out the sky after talking and stuff, and he just walks casually to Luffy, and he turns his back on Emu. Emu doesn't even feel disrespected by this. He's just curious, like, who is this man? What is he about to do? Okay, Gaban yokes Luffy up, yokes him up, like, yo, Luffy, you's a bitch. You're acting like a bitch. Get on your feet, Straw Hat Luffy. What are you doing? Aren't you ashamed? I'm an old man saving your ass. That's what he said. Your little white sparkly form, you think because you became an emperor? And that's bullshit. What are you talking about? That's what Gaban is saying to him, okay? And he's yoking Luffy up, and Emu's just standing there, like, just question mark, like, what is this man doing? Okay? Little does he know he's also trying to save him. But yeah, he's roughing Luffy up, even though Luffy just got stabbed twice. He could have killed him even further, right? He's talking all that stuff. He's asking Luffy the important questions. If you die right now, What's gonna happen? I can't protect my friend's country. That's right. What happens to your crew? Their lives are in danger. All right. So stop acting like a little punk. And, this is when the title comes into play. He says the King of the Pirates is a title for those whose death brings celebration, because everyone else wants to sit in that seat. So people will rejoice if Luffy were to die and just give up, and other people, would also try to take that spot now. They don't even care that he's gone, right? If he was the King of Pirates. And people that know he wants to be King of Pirates would also be happy, because that's one less competition, right? So yeah, this is like the reality of it. You're playing the dangerous game and you're not ready for it. He told him to go home. Threw him away like trash, okay? Luffy got tossed away like trash. And this is obviously to kind of inspire and invigorate Luffy, right? When he threw him away, Imu's looking at that, so Imu's understanding. I think as soon as he got thrown, he started to understand, like, what he's doing. And Imu's like, is this a joke to you? You want to kill him, right? Gaban says. Imu says, yes, I do. Luffy's just in the background, messed up. By the way, Gaban does some mantis attack, and it's like a visual mantis behind him, the vestige of a mantis behind him, assisting his attack. I guess, it's the style he has. He's swinging axes downward super fast. That's the implication of this. So we know Gaban is really nice anyway, based on all the stuff we've been seeing this whole time in the first place. So the fight progresses, right? Gaban asks Imu, doesn't he remind you of Joy Boy? He says, who art thou? Who are you? Like, do you recognize Mu? Obviously, now we're seeing, like, yeah, Gaban knows. He knows who Imu is. He knows about Joy Boy. Joy Boy probably talked about some otherworldly man. And by the way, going back to the other, somebody from another world statement, this might, like I was saying, might really solidify the fact that he's from the moon or something. Because if Joy Boy mentioned Imu in his writings, and he had to describe him as somebody who's like not from this world, and maybe he said that he isn't from this world, right? That's why Gaban said that so blatantly, like almost on purpose, taunting him, right? It's almost like you're not from this world. It's like, so he's kind of taunting him, and he's asking him, what do you know? And Imu's kind of getting, excited, right? He's swinging at Gaban, and he's finally going on some real offensive stuff, right? Real offensive stuff. And he's telling him he knows the words of Joy Boy. He pulls out the Bone Eater sword, by the way, that Onibami Toshiro, I guess that's what it's called. The Bone Eater blade against the Mountain Eater, right? So Gaban states that, of course, I know the words of Joy Boy, but I'm not following them blindly, but at the same time, I want my captain's dream to come to light. And of course, Roger's dream somehow intersects with all of the stuff with Joy Boy, right? He had to find out about Joy Boy, and it's just a lot of things that intersect with that, right? So he's just making it clear, we just want to follow our captain's dream, okay? And in this scene, I know a lot of people were seeing Imu cough up blood, but you got to remember, at this point, Gaban hasn't even struck Imu once. They're just clashing, right? And he's swinging at him, no doubt. Gaban is swinging at Imu in this panel, and you see Imu's, he's blocking. He's shaking because he's blocking, right? You see the shaking of his character and his weapon. He's blocking all of Gaban's attacks, so they're just clashing, and Imu's still coughing up blood in mid-sentence. I think he's getting, like, the fact that he's getting all excited and hyped up is making him cough up blood. So the whole scenario with him having to get unsummoned and being on a timer, that might come into play somehow, some way. I don't know if he's gonna start coughing in the middle of the fight, and that's gonna create an opening for him to get hit by Luffy, and maybe he has to go back home or some shit. I don't know. Hopefully, we gotta see. I don't know. And over here, we got a panel of Luffy telling himself to heal, get better. Just a moment is all I need. Trying to heal himself up, right? And there's a sound effect happening here, right? There is a sound effect happening here. I don't know what that sound effect exactly would mean. I've never seen it. I guess the kanji would give it away more, but I can't read kanji. That's something I will have to look into later. Because I know a lot of people were saying Luffy's regenerating, and when the spoilers are coming out, a lot of people are like, oh, but Luffy can't do that. They say that, oh, Luffy can't do that. He can't regenerate. Well, maybe he can, man. We don't know. Maybe he's going to figure something out. I do not know. Maybe the sound effect are the clouds, or maybe that's the blood gushing out of him. I don't know. I think it's probably blood gushing out of him, most likely. But, yeah. So, Gaban states whose crew he's on, the king of the pirates, Gold D. Roger, right? Emu has a flashback to the day he wanted to hide that name and hide the D in his name, okay? And he notes, yes, that's the man who turned this into the era of piracy. And he speaks to him saying, why would the remnants of his crew protect Straw Hat Luffy, right? Gaban says, it's just enough that you see him as a threat. That's letting us know. And he thinks back to the day when Roger said somebody was going to surpass us. We were just too early. You know, the whole we were too early thing. He's saying that if you're saying that this boy's a threat, then that means that this is the guy we've all been waiting for. Even Whitebeard, like, because Whitebeard was told by Roger about what the D means and all that sort of stuff, right? So this is what Roger's been waiting on, right? And Emu, he starts speaking in that way that makes me think that he is like an amalgamation of people, and maybe those eyes are representative of all of the kings that are Mu, right? All of the kings that are Mu, and that's why he's able to summon all of their weapons, because Mu is all of the kings. They've probably combined and merged with the entity or the person that started using Maki initially, right? The initial Maki user. I think Emu was, was an individual and still is there, but now I think he's like an amalgamation of people. Like he has multiple, you know what I mean? Maybe, I don't know, but he's still saying we have been foolish. Perhaps we have mistaken numerous mere coincidences for destiny, okay? And in the other translation, he says maybe we've mistaken the coincidences for fate. He uses the word fate, okay? Now that word is coming into play, and people can just say, oh, maybe he's just saying that, but no, like there's a mural on Elbaf with a prophecy, okay? And I only say this to say that a lot of people have been trying to kind of ignore the idea that One Piece is doing this sort of fated thing, and Luffy has inherited this chosen fruit. It just is what it is, bro. Okay, we've already stated that the devil fruits have a consciousness of their own, so I don't know why you think it's far-fetched that the fruit chose Luffy, right? Okay, even though he stole it from Shanks, it still made its way to him, right? Okay, and it avoided the world government and being eaten by anybody else this entire time, okay? And then we got the mural depicting somebody that's like Joy Boy and Nika is gonna do this thing, and Luffy's like Joy Boy and Nika, and he reminds even this ancient one of Joy Boy, okay? And he's never mentioned Nika too much. I think Emu does know about Nika too. I think he was around back then, but that's back when he didn't have all of this power, I feel like, but anyway, that's neither here or there. Long story short, yeah, this is like a whole repeated fate thing, a history that's been repeating and all that sort of stuff. And that's why he put the omen on Luffy, and he's trying to kill him in this panel. Gaban wants to stop it, and he does a feat of haki that, we all kind of, well, not all of us, but a lot of us who kind of paid attention to how haki's been used and how it's supposed to work have kind of thought that, this can happen. People can just use the haki itself, to do things like this, because Gaban is cutting the tree clearly with just haki. Okay, he's cutting this tree with just the lightning from the haki, the visual lightning from his haki. Okay, and realistically, you know, like people aren't supposed to see the lightning. He's just releasing his power in these different directions to literally cut the tree, right? However Oda wanted, even if Oda didn't want to depict this with lightning and he just had people floating in the air with auras, right? No lightning, we would have seen aura waves slashing at the trees, okay? Either way, he's using his energy to cut the trees. Practical use of projecting his own energy, okay? And people get confused on Haki. A lot of people thought Haki couldn't do stuff like this, and I don't blame you because we haven't really seen it, but I feel like it's always been there, right? With how it's been described and explained and even used, okay? With people like swordsmen using sword waves, what do you think that is, okay? They're cutting the air also, but yeah, they're Haki too, right? So Gaban is cutting the tree in half, and we see the panel. If you zoom in, it's a panel of Emu. He almost used the stigma, but he had to stop midway and throw his arms up. And if you can see him, he's using his flames, his black flames, to protect himself from one of these lightning, Haki energy waves, right? And that has definitely injured him. Okay, I was talking about injuries earlier. That's an injury because we see him leaking from the forehead now, and he already wiped the blood off his mouth. His mouth is bleeding again now. So he took a lot of damage from that shit right there, okay? And he put some respect on Gaban's name, saying, you know, even though you're old and decrepit, yeah, he's still a part of the Pirate King's crew after all, right? So Emu knows that they're strong. And he's questioning his determination to believe. Okay, to believe what? To believe that, you know, how the fate is going, how things are supposed to be going, and that this is the moment that it's supposed to be, right? That sort of stuff. He believes, yes, and obviously more likely referring to Luffy. Yes, I believe he's the one. You know, this is it. You know, so Gaban obviously responds saying, "You do too, bro. Like obviously, you know, like you not like, come on, like you know you are. Come on, what do you mean? Like, so yeah, he knows that. And if I'm not mistaken, I think this panel right here, because Emu's still like recovering from blocking that attack, so he has his swords out. And then if you see this last panel on the left, when his eyes are just the only thing there, it looks like his arms are moving really fast. So I think this is indicating that he swung in a response while they're up there. Or obviously they're falling off fucking Sun World. Okay, so they're falling and he's swinging at Gaban while they're falling. And obviously this results in Gaban losing an arm. Okay. Luffy is probably, I think he's still on that same branch that fell into the underworld now, because everybody else is still in the Sun World. Okay, Loki is still in the Sun World. Gerd, you know, Nami, Usopp, by the way, is the one who was able to sense it's somebody else who's super strong that did that big attack, and it wasn't Luffy. Okay, he's talking about Gaban. He's obviously referring to Gaban. And I think Usopp being able to sense stuff, hopefully this is not just Oda remembering that, you know, Usopp should be able to do this and that he could do this, I guess, and he's making him do it because he remembered, you know, this is a thing. Hopefully this is not that, and hopefully this is him setting something up. And, you know, it's really like, oh, Usopp's awakening to further potential of sensory, right? Because I can imagine Oda just like not really mentioning in particular the fact that Usopp is doing this, and people are just like, you know, they'll just carry on. Usopp is sensing stuff now, and they'll just carry on. Maybe he'll start sensing stuff later. I feel like no, Oda is just like some Oda shit to not have anybody mention it or talk about it, because they never really talked about the thing that happened with Sugar. I don't think he ever told anybody like, yo, it wasn't slow motion, Luffy, I'm telling you, I zoomed in from across the map, no scope. Like I don't know. I haven't seen him say it. I don't know, but if he does, that'd be amazing. Okay, So yeah, Luffy's gonna end off. Maybe, hopefully, he's gonna have some Shanks PTSD because now he knows that he knows Shanks, right? And he knows Roger. I mean, I think Luffy already knew that though, if I'm not mistaken. When he told them, Luffy found out earlier he's part of the Roger's crew, if I'm not mistaken. If I'm not mistaken, but I might be mistaken. Luffy was kind of ignoring him a lot, but Gaban did sit down and tell them a story. I thought after he found out about that story, that's when he knew, but I'm not sure. I forget. I forget right now. So, yeah, either way, this is definitely an opportunity for Luffy to have somewhat of a flashback to Shanks, and then, he's going to be feeling like, again, he's going to remember a situation when he was weak, okay? Because before it was like with the whole Ace thing, and now he's strong again. He's not going to let that shit happen. He's at his peak. He's not weak, that whole thing. This time, he's going to remember a different situation where he just couldn't do anything, right? And, I mean, hopefully, right, maybe. This will be the push that he needs because it seems like he is healing up, or at least he's getting his energy back. I don't know if he's going to heal up exactly. But anything is possible at this point. Maybe he can use the rubberness of his body to tighten up the wound and close it up and fight for longer, right? Maybe it will just heal up because he's like speeding the process up with some imagination shit, right? But I don't know. Either way, I think that might be it for me. If I could think of anything to add to the comments, I will. Yeah. Gaban knowing all the stuff that he knows isn't a surprise this chapter. Obviously, we knew that he knows something. We knew that he knows a lot of stuff, right? He was in the end of the world with Roger, and then even before this, he's looked at Luffy's white form and said something like he's been waiting to see it, right? So we knew that he knew stuff. We knew that he knew about the world government because of the Shanks flashback, so that's not a surprise. But the big question is, will he keep saying what he knows? Will he tell us more of what he knows? We know he knows everything, but will he say what those things are? Are we gonna have two old men, Gaban and Imu, talking back and forth a little bit more? I feel like at this point, with Gaban laying down like that, if Luffy doesn't come to save him, or somebody doesn't come to save him, if it's not Harden, it might be Harden, right? Harden could come to save Gaban, right? But if it's not him and nobody comes to save him in time, I can definitely see Imu executing Gaban. Before, I wouldn't have said that. I would have said, oh, Oda's not going to have, Imu just stabbing Luffy. I said that, and that's exactly what happened. He started just stabbing him over and over to kill him slowly. I was like, Oda's not going to do that. That's not, somebody's going to interfere before, he deals the final blow. No, he stabbed him up a lot. He tried to kill him. He's probably going to try to do the same thing to Gaban. I mean, obviously somebody would have to either interfere before then, or he's going to get stabbed up like Luffy and then saved, or just die from getting stabbed up. Okay, I can't imagine him dying though, because this is a good character, and they could just patch his arm up and he could be a decrepit old man. No more fighting left in his days, except for like that one day he really needs to swing one axe, right? Really hard. He could probably still swing one axe really hard and stop somebody from messing with Ripley or Colin, right? Yeah. Anyway, like I was saying earlier, this is it for me. I'm out. It's a good chapter. Anything else I could think of, I'll put it in the comments down below.